Beep, beep, school's open.
At the Fisher-Price School, learning is just part of the fun.
Hey, skateboards don't go to school.
Hey Yesterland fans, I'm Neal, and on today's episode of The Toys That Made Sense, we're going back to the original OG toys from my childhood. This is the line that started it for me, that I can remember playing with toys. And actually I can go back a little bit further. I have a fond memory. I'm about two and a half years old, and we're in my grandparents' place, and my grandfather had these antique die-cast, like pot metal old cars that were probably from the 30s or the 40s. And I can remember playing with them. All different sizes, trucks, different colors. There's like a Coke truck, a semi, like a farm to market style truck, an old, probably like 30s or 40s Plymouth Oldsmobile of some sort, whatever. But I can remember playing with those toys as a kid, about two and a half. And I remember asking my mom, I said, hey, are those some of the earliest childhood toys that you can remember me playing with as a kid? And she said, yeah, you would have been about two and a half. So I have memories going back to two and a half. But what really started it for me was when I really remember imagination coming into play, and that was the Little People, right? The Fisher-Price Little People. The adventures and the trips that I took with these little figurines and these toys were priceless. We had several adventures together in my room, outside, just early childhood development and understanding how things work from a play perspective. So these toys, to me, are some of the earliest toys that I can remember playing with and allowing my imagination to just explore and have such a great time. Now, these toys here, the majority of these are all of my originals. There's a couple pieces in here that I believe belong to my wife and her brother. Now, we had more of these when we married and got together, and my brother-in-law gave me this big toy box. It was like a giant hungry hippo, and that's where all their toys used to be put in. And there was several Fisher-Price toys in there. So I think there might be some that are mixed here, like this, what do you call it? Kind of like swordsman, if you will, knight from a Castle Fisher-Price set. I believe that's my brother-in-law's. And I believe this farmer down here, that's one of the earliest pieces, and that's a wood base little piece. When Fisher-Price made these out of wood bottoms, and before they went to the plastic mold that the majority of us are probably pretty familiar with. So yeah, so some of these or the majority of these are all of mine. I do know that this is my original hospital play set, and it's in pretty bad shape. We're missing the door that folded down and made the courtyard. Missing several of the beds, the nurses. I've got one orderly left. I got one of them left over the year. I mean, and his paint has just, on his eyes and his head are just starting to fade. But, for toys that are 45 to 50 years old, they don't make them like this anymore, for sure. And then obviously this farm piece here came to me later in the early 80s. This was a hand-me-down from a client or a co-worker of my mom's. And yes, the cow still works, so I'll do that now for you. We'll close it up. There you go, you just heard it. Open it back up. It's a little diaphragm in there. And when you open that door, it still makes that cow noise. So the decals on the inside are still in pretty good shape. Some of the outside is damaged a little bit. The silo here is starting to tear. Now my kids have played with this. I mean, it's pretty, it's got a little bit of a rust stain down in there, but anyways, my kids have played with this growing up, and I hope to allow my grandchildren to play with this stuff someday. So these are some of my early childhood toys that I remember. The farmer, I just remember it was always fun to go to the store. When I was still about 4 or 5 years old, I think I was playing with this stuff as I would, you know, switch back and forth between Star Wars and G.I. Joe and He-Man. It was just all the different adventures. Now, I don't remember crossing this line, if you will, with any of my other action figures. Fisher-Price Little People had their own little unique world. Nothing really crossed over, other than I had a tree, and it wasn't by, I believe it was by Fisher-Price. I just don't know if it was the same line, which I know they reused that tree in the Ewoks series of toys that was short-lived, and they redid it. But it was a green tree, and it you know, that would incorporate here into the Fisher-Price world. My friends, a couple of my buddies had Fisher-Price that I remember. They had the airplane set, and they had like the Carvana type thing where you could put all the different Fisher-Price cars in and drive them around. But what was good about these toys, right? These toys were solid plastic. I mean, solid plastic. Now, Fisher-Price has redone this line, and they call it the Little People now, I think it's just called, and they have arms, and they're not articulated, but they're spongy, rubbery like material. Those came in about the late 80s, early 90s, I believe, is when those started being made. But they do not make this line anymore, the Fisher-Price Little People, out of the hard plastic. Probably, when I look at it, the reason they don't do it is probably because of the size, and these could definitely be swallowed. So I'm sure there needs to, there had to be some regulations on that. But anyways, and then I have the pool here. I used to fill that up with water and let that, you know, everybody would swim. I'm missing the diving board. I'm missing the life vest. I have the inner tube flotation device, but I'm missing the life vest. Again, my kids played with this stuff. God knows where it ended up, you know, but these are some of my earliest childhood toys that I remember, and the trips that we would take together in the world of make-believe and imagination was just excellent. So yeah, comment on this. Let me know, did you play with Fisher-Price? Did you have these toys? What adventures did you take? Do you collect Fisher-Price Little People? I know a lot of people do. It is a very easy line to collect because it was, you know, the production on it was so massive. Now, there are rare pieces in this series, believe it or not, of Little People. I know some of the Sesame Street characters can fetch a pretty penny. I know some of the fantasy, like knight stuff in the castle, the dragons and things like that that were made, those can fetch a pretty penny. So yeah, you know, we had some cool toys when we were kids. That's to say the least. And oh, one thing before I forget, the elevator still works. As you can tell here, it's going up. The resistance on it, it'll come up, and it should, yeah, and it'll retract. It still comes down real easily, and the gauge for the floor works. The bell still works. And the door where the ambulance goes here in the back still rolls up, as you can tell. So yeah, this was a fun line to play with as a kid, and I had a lot more. And where they've gone over the years, I have no clue. So let me know, what'd you think of this video? Do you still have your original toys that you played with? Oh yeah, one thing else, I had a few of them, and those were the Adventure People, and I don't have any of those now. I have looked into completing some of my adventure line or adventure people sets that I would like to get. If I do it, I want to make sure I have them all so they display nicely in my collection. I don't know if I'll ever really display this stuff here. I really don't have a lot of room for it, but the adventure people, there was some cool stuff in there, especially that safari set, the underwater set. A lot of the space adventure stuff was fun. I remember my brother having some of them, but by the time it got to me, I had maybe a couple, and I don't know what happened with them. So anyways, early childhood toys here that I remember, the little people. So remember, let's not forget about the little people. What started it all for a lot of us. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate it. If you like what you watched here, make sure you like this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Patreon, and as always, guys, I'll see you in Yesterland.